Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Let's go and get started with Week 15's Word Nerd Wednesday. Now, last week we talked a little about pipeweed, drawing inspiration from Third Age Thursday when I began to read from Homeward Bound. Well, we're going to keep that pattern going today by looking at a couple of words used in this chapter that are so common, I'm not sure you ever thought we'd need to do a Word Nerd Wednesday on them. Let's take a look at two passages in the text that I will read tomorrow. First up is right at the beginning. Pippin is surprised to hear about all the trouble. After all, no one troubled us. We thought we'd left all trouble behind us. Ah, that you haven't, master, more's the pity, said Butterbur. Later, Gandalf tells Barliman, and there is a king again, and that he will come there again one day, and then you'll have some fair folk riding through. The words for today, then, are master and king. Now, of course, in this context, Barliman is using the word in a far more casual way. Like I say, good morning, little masters, paraphrasing Barliman's use of the words. But I want to look at it etymologically today instead. Now, unlike king, which I'll explore next, master comes to us from Latin, magister, meaning chief, head, director, teacher. It's old enough that it was borrowed into English when it was still Old English, so it is pre-Norman invasion. Back then, it was magister? Not sure I'm pronouncing that right. And it meant a man having control or authority over a place, a teacher or tutor of children, which is interesting. But over the years, the word came to mean a lot more. By the late 12th century, it also referred to a man eminently or perfectly skilled in something. And not long after that, circa 1300, it took on the sense of master workman or craftsman, a workman who's qualified to teach apprentices. So, like a master blacksmith. Around the same time, it took on meanings like one charged with the care and oversight of some office or business. And it even came to mean captain of a merchant vessel. Lots of different meanings for the word master. Like master and commander would be one example for that. It was only in the mid-14th century when it took on one who employs another or others in his service, correlating to servant. And then there's the way I tend to think of Barliman using it with the hobbits, as a title prefixed to the name of a young gentleman of the better class, not old enough yet to be called Mr., short for young master. That version, that meaning, dates only to the late 16th century. Now, of course, master also has an academic connotation, somebody with authority to teach at a university, somebody possessing a master's degree. Tolkien uses a lot of the different meanings of the word master in The Lord of the Rings. Sam calls Frodo master and seems to mean one who employs another or others in his service, as he views himself as a servant. Gollum uses it in the same context, but with a pretty radically different tone. Barliman calls just about everybody master in a very casual way. It strikes me as that sort of young gentleman bit when he calls the hobbits that. Then there's the master of Lake Town, seemingly one charged with the care and oversight of running the town. Or there, maybe it's more of that trade guild connotation the master craftsman thought. But that's master. Let's go ahead and move on to king. King is, of course, a solid Germanic word. It comes from Old English kynning, which is just a compound of kun with the ing suffix. That second element, ing, was a patronymic suffix in Old English, just meant son of, and we see examples of this all throughout the legendarium, mostly with people groups like the Beornings, the Eorlingas, and so on. But it's the first element that's so interesting. Kyn, C-Y-N, is basically the same as our modern English kin, but in Old English it meant more like kindred, race, nation, or people, much larger group than we might think of when we use the word kin today. It is in turn related to a host of words, all deriving from the Proto-Indo-European root gen that have to do with family relationships and birth, as well as English words derived from other languages like genus and generation, gentleman, genesis, heterogeneous, homogeneous, and so on. The old gen becoming ken. So the king, or kynning, seems to literally mean a son of the people. Now, of course, there's another Old English word for king, Theoden, meaning chief of a tribe, ruler, prince, or king. But more on that some other time, because, folks, that is it for today's Word Nerd Wednesday. Come back as we wander the wide, wild, wonderful world of words weekly on Wednesdays. And if there's a word you want to know more about, please let me know by emailing Barliman at theprancingponypodcast.com. And please visit patreon.com/Tolkien Times to learn how you can support the show. You can get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout with me, even a bonus weekly episode, and a lot more. Finally, join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Third Age Thursday. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Please follow or subscribe in your podcast apps. and follow at Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.